Tonight's lesson is just a quick review on multiplying and dividing fractions. Let's review multiplying fractions. If you have 1/2 times 5, that means we take a beautiful drawing that involves halves and we find 5 halves. So this is 1/2, that's half, that's half, that's half, that's half. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 halves. That means we have 1, 2, and a half circles drawn. So if you want to deal with 1/2 5 times, that just means you have 2 and 1/2 circles drawn. If you remember, we can compute this without drawings. So if you do 1/2 times 5, 5 is the same as 5 over 1, straight across the top, straight across the bottom. 1 times 5 is 5, 2 times 1 is 2. That's 5 halves. If I want to convert that to a mixed number, 2 goes into 5 twice. That gets us to 4, so we have 1 left over. 5 halves is the same as 2 and 1/2. Let's take a look at 2/3 times 1/2. So if we have 2/3 times 1/2, we're wondering what's half of 2/3. So I take my 2/3, 2 blue out of 3 parts, and I take my 2/3 and I just cut those 2/3 in half. I want half of 2/3. So this section right here would represent half of your 2/3. I took my 2/3 and I cut it in half. And I said, okay, this gives me half of 2/3. Sorry about that. Half of 2/3. We have 1, 2 parts out of, because this is half of 2/3, out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts. So 2/3 times 1/2 is 2/6. I could always write in simplest form, divide numerator and denominator by 2. 2/6 is the same as 1/3. And if we don't have a picture or the picture is not helpful to you, you know how to multiply fractions. Straight across the top, straight across the bottom. 2 times 1 is 2. 3 times 2 is 6. Again, we can divide numerator and denominator by 2 and come up with 1/3. Let's just do a quick review on converting mixed numbers to improper fractions. So if I have 2.5, that means I have 1, 2 and a half circles drawn. And so then I break it down. I say, how many halves do I have? In 2.5, I actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 halves. So 2 and 1/2 is simply 5 halves. And hopefully you remember from years past, if you don't have pictures or the pictures aren't helpful, 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5 halves. I always tell you to multiply that and then add that on. Let's try one more. Convert 2 and 2/3 to an improper fraction. So we have 2 whole circles. Broke my circles into thirds, 2 whole circles, and then another 2/3 of the final circle. So this represents 2 and 2/3. Well, how many thirds do we have? How many thirds is this? Let's take a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 2 and 2/3 must be 8 thirds from the picture. Again, if you don't have pictures in front of you or you're not comfortable drawing the pictures, you'll remember you can just do 3 times 2 is 6 plus 2 is 8 thirds. So you'll remember from years past, you used to multiply that and then add that on. That's a quick review for going from mixed numbers to improper. Let's review dividing fractions. 3 divided by 3/4 is just how many 3/4 can we fit into 3 whole rectangles in this case. So if we have 3 rectangles and we break those rectangles into fourths, 1, 2, 3, 4 fourths makes 1 whole. 1, 2, 3, 4 fourths makes another hole. 1, 2, 3, 4 fourths makes our third rectangle. How many 3/4 can I fit into there? Well, I take a look. Here's 3 out of the 4. Here's another group of 1, 2, 3 out of the 4. Here's another group of 1, 2, 3 fourths. And here's our last group of 1, 2, 3 fourths. So we actually have 1, 2, 3, 4 groups of 3/4 will make 3 whole rectangles. Let's just remind ourselves, 3 is the same as 3 over 1 divided by 3/4. If I look here, you probably from years past either said skip, flip, and multiply, or maybe you said drop, change, flip, whatever works for you. Multiply straight across the top, straight across the bottom. 3 times 4 is 12. 1 times 3 is 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. One more example. If you take 2½ divided by 1/4, that says to you how many fourths fit into 2½. So if we have 1, 2, and another half, and we broke each of those into fourths, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 fourths is the first hole. 1, 2, 3, 4 is another entire rectangle, and then there's 2 more fourths to make up the other half of the rectangle. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 fourths make up 2 1/2. So how many fourths are in 2 1/2? There's 10 fourths that are in 2 1/2. If you want to divide this out, we need to convert this mixed number to an improper. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5/2. 2 1/2 is the same as 5/2. Divided by 1/4. Skip, flip, and multiply, or drop, change, flip, whatever little saying you have for yourself. Then multiply straight across the top, straight across the bottom. 5 times 4 is 20. 2 times 1 is 2. 20 divided by 2 is 10. So again, you might find pictures helpful if you can't remember how to use just the process to divide. Sometimes I find pictures are much more helpful. We're going to work with complex fractions in 7th grade. And what we'll have is we'll have a fraction in the numerator, nice big fraction bar, and a fraction in the denominator. This is a complex fraction, and all it means is 1/2 divided by 1/3. We're going to be using complex fractions when we try to solve unit rate problems. Remember, a unit rate is where we want to convert our denominator to a denominator of 1. We've talked about price for one item, speed in miles per 1 hour. Those are some that we've talked about. This is the first example I'm going to have you try on your own in a moment. If a person walks 2.5 miles in 1 1/4 hours at a constant speed, what is the unit rate in miles per hour? So take a minute, pause the video, try it out, come on back. So if I know I want my unit rate in miles per hour, all I'm going to do is miles per hour. I'm going to look what I'm given. 2.5 miles per 1 1/4 hours. This would be a complex fraction. Now if I want to change it to a unit rate of how many miles in 1 hour, I just look here and I say 1 1/4. What do I need to divide by to get down to 1? Well, you just simply divide the denominator by itself. 1 1/4 divided by 1 1/4 gets you to 1. If I'm going to divide the denominator by 1 1/4, I have to divide the numerator by 1 1/4. So now I have to take this problem and I have to do this division problem. If you need to draw yourself pictures, go ahead. 2 1/2 divided by 1 1/4. How many 1 1/4 will fit into 2 1/2? I'm going to just use the process to change them both to improper and then divide. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5/2. Divided by 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5/4. Then we're going to skip, flip, and multiply, or drop, change, flip. straight across the top, straight across the bottom. 5 times 4 is 20. 2 times 5 is 10. 20 divided by 10 is 2. So you're actually going to be able to walk 2 miles per 1 hour. So your walking rate is 2 miles per hour. That means that 2 1 1/4 will fit into 2 1/2. Let's try the next example. If you're able to walk 1/4 miles in 5 minutes, what is your walking rate in miles per hour? Go ahead and try that out. Pause the video. Come on back. All right, so we know we're able to walk 1/4 miles per 5 minutes. We actually want miles per hour. Well, right now I have miles per minute, so it's important that I understand how many minutes are in an hour. Well, there's 60 minutes in an hour. So if I can figure out how many miles per 60 minutes, that will get me how many miles per hour. So here, how do I go from 5 to 60? 5 times what is 60? You can always do 60 divided by 5 on your calculator. 5 times 12 is 60. So I know I need to do 1/4 times 12. So if I do 1/4 times 12, 12 is the same as 12 over 1, straight across the top, straight across the bottom. 12 times 1 is 12. 1 times 4 is 4. 12 divided by 4 is 3. That means we're able to walk 3 miles in 60 minutes, or 3 miles per hour. So your walking rate is 3 miles per hour. If we just take a look at a clock and I broke it down into 5 minutes or 5-minute increments, you know you can walk 1/4 mile every 5 minutes. If you break it down into every 5 minutes 1/4 mile, you'll see after an hour you've walked 12 1/4 miles. 12 1/4 miles means you've walked a total of 3 miles because you have 1, 2, 3, 4. You know 4/4 would be 1 whole mile. 1, 2, 3, 4. Another 4/4 will get you to 1 whole mile. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, that gets you to your last mile. So you're actually able to walk. Each one of these thirds represents an entire mile. So you're able to walk 3 miles in an hour. Here's a focus question I'd like you to try to answer for tomorrow. In your own words, describe how to multiply fractions. And also I'd like you to describe how to divide fractions. So do a nice write-up on that and bring it to class to share. Thanks. Have a good night.